Hi, everybody. Welcome to Conversations with Calvin, We the Species. Chronologically, it's the first couple days in September, and I kind of jump things real fast because September to me is always the gateway to Halloween, which is the gateway to Thanksgiving, and then you blink your eye and it's Christmas and it's New Year's, and then we're waiting for the first day of spring, and I just wiped out half a year. And that's how fast it goes. It's just boom, boom, boom. So, um, it's funny. I didn't want to press the button because I'm with DANA LYNN BERNSTEIN, and I didn't want to press the button to record because we've just been chatting away here, and we chatted away last week for a long time. We found some elements of commonality, and as we decided, and this is like a really informal for Calvin, kind of an informal. We're just gonna kind of talk, but I took some notes and stuff. But this is one remarkable woman. Um, one remarkable woman. She wrote, "It's the thought that counts." She's a conflict resolution coach, and she's holding a book. I'm holding a picture. In addition to writing that, she's got a couple of degrees, BA and MS. I don't understand how you can get an MS. I forgot what I wrote. Oh, you got an MA, I'm sorry, in dispute resolution. You can tell us about, I can't even comprehend that. So a couple of degrees. In addition to all that, she's a second degree black belt in mixed martial arts, MMA. Wow, and she showed me, you
Should
can
I bring
hold
out
it
my
up.
belt?
Yeah, sure. Hold that black belt up. I mean
Oh, well, now it's out of sorts.
that's out
There
of
we go.
sorts, but so extraordinary. So we're going to talk about that. Part-time, she also helps run the family business, a veterinary hospital, and all kinds of give back because you love that. You love doing that, the give backs and the Girl Scouts and all the stuff you do. It's a wow. I use that word wow very judiciously. So that's quite
Thank
a
you.
journey, Donna. Quite a journey, and we're going to talk about that. So this was my official Johnny Carson monologue. And it's so funny because when I say this all the time, it's my Johnny Carson monologue. Half the people look at me like, "Who?" And if I ever need a slap in the face, like Cher slap Nicolas Cage in Moonstruck to kind of, hey, the world has aged, and there's a lot of young people, and they don't know who Johnny Carson is. So be it. Anyway, monologue over. Why don't you do a little bio background, and then we'll jump in to some things to talk about.
All right. Well, you basically covered it.
Okay. Good. Then
I'm a wife, mother, daughter. I work at Rutgers. I onboard a coaching program. Yeah, yay, Rutgers. Go are you?
yes.
Um, yeah, just
Okay.
dabbling in the things that make me happy.
Okay. So, you've worn many hats. Duh, yes. The conflict resolution coach, an author, a martial artist, co-runner of an animal hospital. How do you weave all these worlds together? I mean, that's a lot of stuff, and of course, the parenting and all of that.
They get woven together like the tapestry of any life. People have same things as I do. We just kind of blend. Um, I have a little bit of a restlessness in me, so I like to eh, do more things. And then I don't like to always get rid of things. So I've
Okay.
accumulated. It's like hoarding
Yeah.
jobs,
Okay. Which you do.
which apparently is what I collect things. I collect people and jobs. So
Yeah, I've done that. I've had six careers in the last 11 years, six separate viable careers: journalism, broadcasting,
right.
professor at Rutgers, podcasting. I'm the advisor on the Women's Health Institute at the hospital. I've had all this stuff, and you're a conflict resolution coach, uh, and we just talked about it. I must have had some enormous conflicts that it's too bad I didn't know you years ago. with what I know now, I would have wanted to do we'll talk about the conflict resolution in short enough time. But I just wish, because there was so much stuff, inside me that wanted to come out, and that's in part what you do to help resolve that. And I just kind of fumbled my way through and took my ever-loving time. So, I'm doing all the things I'm doing when I passed 65. 15
Yeah.
years ago. Yeah. So, but we're going to talk about that in due time. Um, what inspired you to write? It's the thought that counts. And and I love this question because I'm a writer too. Um, and what would you like readers? What's your core message? What would you like readers to take away? Which is hugely important.
All right. So first question is why? I was talking to one of my clients and I gave her one of the exercises and she's like, is any of this written down anywhere? And I'm like, no. And then later on, I talked to one of my coaching girlfriends and I was a little bit bored and I was like going too wide in my life, like too many things, but not deep enough where I was getting creative and just sinking my teeth into a project. And I said, I think I'll write a book. And so that's how it started. And then I put a slide deck together because that's how I think in slides. And then I was writing all the information, like the content piece underneath the slide in the notes section. And that's how the book started. It was 200 and something slides with all the notes. And eventually, who can edit that? So I had to take those notes and put it into a Word document. And little by little, the thing grew. I was thinking it was going to be like, I don't know, 200 pages. 442 pages later, it was a lot of book. It was a
Wow,
lot of book.
it's a
I
lot
just
of
kept,
book.
I did a chapter on negotiation, which I absolutely love negotiation because we negotiate internally with ourselves all the time. I was sitting at the door and to talk about negotiation, and I had to pick up books for my daughter's Girl Scout because we were doing this book project, and I had to pick up these books, and it was raining out. And I was just sitting there debating with myself, should I go? It's raining out. I don't feel like going, but I want to do some work. Oh, I have to make dinner. And all of these thoughts kept bouncing off, and I was trying to convince myself to get out the door. And I sat there for 15 minutes negotiating with myself as to what I'm doing. And I said, that's a chapter in the book. It's going to be a short chapter, like 4 or 5 pages. It started out. I'm like, oh, this is good to go. 20 something pages later, it was a complete. And that's like a little side chapter. But it was fun. I didn't want to leave anything on the table. So the book came about by a thought and boredom. So there's that. Um, what I want people to get out of it is imagine a world where all of us know our internal selves, our values, what makes us our best self. I call them pillars, what we want to feel every day, and what stops us. And when we have that bucket of words, we could de-escalate ourselves. We could look at something and say, wow, that just hit my independence value. Oh, where did my respect value go? And as soon as you label it and frame it, you have a place to land because you identified the thing that got hit. Oh, I'm acting as a shell of myself today. But now you know what your best self is, so you can understand what a shell of yourself looks like, and then feed the thing that makes you happy. So one of my pillars, my best self is community, passion, laughter, peace. Those are my four. And I feed them like growing a tree. And the more the tree gets fed, the more it just becomes stronger. But I know when I'm not acting like that, it's just not my me, but I can identify it. And so if everyone who read this book and is listening to this wonderful podcast, and I have a lot of coaches, so they're great, identified that internal self, think of the world of what it would look like if we showed up using our best selves and de-escalated ourselves before we had a reaction.
I'm taking notes. I don't know if you noticed.
Yeah.
There's very few interviewers in the world. Jimmy Fallon never, Jimmy Kimmel never, Johnny Carson never. But I'm taking notes on key words that I'm extracting from listening to you. So if I look like I'm down there, it's because I'm writing stuff.
So
That's
what are those key words?
well, I love the phrase, I love the pillars you talked about. So, and then identify your internal self. I like that. I like that because I identify with that because for decades and decades I never identified, and I wasted all this time, I guess. Well, it is wasted time. I wasted
Well,
all this time, decades and decades to do what I'm doing now. I could have been doing it, but
but
it,
what if all the steps in the past led you to be who you are today, and they were needed to go
I
through so you can
guess
get to this piece?
if you're trying to make me feel better, then I guess you know what I am, I guess, an amalgam. That's a nice word. I guess I'm an amalgam of all the input and all the things that I've lived, and the
Yeah.
emotion and the experiences and the people and the journeys, and I as you know, I just wrote my third book, 10 Things I Learned from the Billionaire. So that was 25 years of learning and
Yeah, but
experience.
picture it this way. Take some of those experiences that you've been thinking about and erase them from your life. That you've never had them.
Okay.
Who would you be today without that?
You know what? Um, I could very well be sitting on the front porch now with a glass of prune juice in a rocking chair, sitting and looking at the birds sitting on the wires to keep warm. Without, you know what? I am who I am because of what I lived.
Yeah.
So, is there like a common ground? Would I have had to have wasted 25 years working selling eyeglasses? Could I have speeded that process up and learned to kind of speed this up? No, I guess, and it's easy to say, I am who I am, as Popeye
Yeah.
said. I am
Yeah.
who I
But
am because of what
you,
I
you
lived.
can't you can't take the chicken off the grill before it's cooked.
Okay, I like that. I like that.
So you needed the time that you needed to get to where you are. You wouldn't be you without all the stuff.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with prune juice, by the way. I'm just saying. It's
Hey,
just
it
don't give that a
works.
bad rap. It's
It
yeah,
works. It's got a terrible rep.
yeah.
Terrible.
But that's what it is. We have a past for a reason. We could look at it as a gift, or we could carry it with us like a burden.
Yeah.
We have to live between our two ears. There's no one else that lives there. And you get to choose what you're thinking.
Yeah.
So if you want to wear the jackets of the past that weigh you down, that's a choice.
Yeah.
And there's a way to get away from that. And which is what is all the book is about, right? Is how do you live more in the present? How do you decompress the emotions about the thing that happened
I like it.
I and
Powerful.
identify, yeah, you're identifying. So you haven't so conflict is very layered. And I'll do the standard how I explain conflict to my clients is here's your challenge. It's like a speed bump, or as someone in England call it, a sleeping policeman, which I absolutely love. I never knew that. But anyway, you have your sleeping policeman, as the English would say, or your speed bump. And there's your challenge. You overcome those every single day. When you layer more thoughts on thoughts, you are adding thought weight to a challenge, and that's what makes it into a conflict. I could look at something and be like, oh, well, that's an easy thing to do, Calvin. What's the issue? And you're like, oh, Dana, you know, and but you could say the same thing to me, like, Dana, why do you think this thing is an issue? Why? What's going on? Like, I don't see this as an issue. Someone said this. What are you getting your back up against the wall for? So conflict innately is made up because it's our thoughts that make up the conflict. So what I like to have my clients do is separate it into internal versus external conflict. External conflict, it's tactical. How do I go from point A to point B? What are the steps? There's always steps to do stuff. Internal conflict is what is stopping you in this particular moment from doing the thing. having that conversation with someone, accomplishing a goal, doing whatever it is. It's our thoughts that are the impediment to getting something done. And when you identify that there's two separate things, that mountain of conflict that you built becomes into two pieces, becomes less, and you can sort of see over the sleeping policeman. The other thing you want to look at is you have an internal identity and an external identity. The external identity is, well, for you, you're a husband, dad, you're 6'2", worker of some sort, degrees, this, that, the other. You have a tapestry of outside stuff that you've done. Internally, you're made up of those values, the words of your best self, those pillars, your ideal emotion, and what stops you. And those are your internal identity. And when something happens and you identify it as it was an attack on the internal identity, it becomes a conflict. Because if it didn't attack your internal identity, who cares?
Mm-hmm.
You could look at things in many different ways, and for you, the way that you're looking at it is the thing that makes it a conflict. Your perception of the thing will get you into the conflict, and your perceptions will also pull you out. So for the book, what you're doing, and for my clients, is you're identifying that internal identity, and then we template that towards what's going on that is a conflict. Make sense?
Yes, that does make sense.
Okay.
It
That was a
does.
very long answer to a short question.
Yeah, that does make sense. It does. Um, can you share a practical first step? Maybe if I would have had this, a practical first step that someone can take when they feel there's a conflict in their life. Is there a first step,
Yeah,
like get in touch
absolutely.
with you?
Absolutely. Um, so I'm going to frame it first with the story, then I'll do it's a three-step process. Is that good?
Sure.
Okay. So, there's a story about an elephant and a rider. A rider is your logical head, little guy. Elephant is big, right? It's an elephant. So your logical brain is a rider. Elephant are your emotions. The logical brain says, I want to go here. And the elephant's like, yeah, let's do that. And the elephant, the emotions, and your brain are working towards the thing. I'm writing the book. Whatever it is you're doing. I want to have a conversation with Kelvin. How do I do that? And I'm saying, yes, my feelings are lockstep. The minute the elephant feels disenfranchised, it's going to go in another direction. And the elephant, because it's so big, you can't control it. The rider, no matter what it says, will not be able to say, elephant, come on, calm yourself down. The elephant needs its time to do the thing. And if you keep feeding the elephant negative thoughts, the elephant is going to keep growing bigger and bigger and bigger, which reduces your thinking space. The less thinking space you have, you cannot think your way out of the issue. So that's what happens. So something happens and you have that reaction, and that reaction causes the elephant to balloon. So the three-step process is you want to pause and just accept that the elephant's not doing its thing. It's just let it have its emotions. Let sad be sad, angry. You can't tell an elephant not to do those things. You want to just give it some time and just pause and accept the situation that not fantastic. You want to ponder what you're thinking. And by that is, what are your values that got hit? Are you acting as a shell of yourself, those pillars? Did you get triggered by the I'm not demoralizing statement? Like, what is actually going on? And you look at those bucket of words to try to decipher, it's like a puzzle, to try to decipher what's happening. Are my two values fighting each other, leaving me indecisive? Did someone say something and I feel disrespected? Like, what's happening? Once you ponder why you're upset, that's another framework to de-escalate the elephant, because now you have some self-command, self-control. Then you pivot to your best self. But how do you know what the best self is? Those are your pillars. So you could put one on as a jacket. I'm going to frame this communication in the spirit of community. Or I'm having a tough negotiation. I'm going to use laughter to break an impasse. But you always go with your natural grain, never against. I can't be someone that I'm not, nor can you. And that's what we have to respect, that we're each individuals, and that's how we approach things. So pause, ponder, pivot is the short answer for your first step. but The Elephant and the Rider is just a story that I love. It was like a psychiatrist from egads ago, like the Johnny Carson era.
Okay.
That
Okay.
that
Yeah, I like that. Um, so I'm listening to you, and again, I was in sales for 25 years, and I was pretty good. I was a regional manager for one of the most successful eyewear company. I learned a lot of stuff, and now I'm learning a pitch about you. And here's the pitch as I'm digesting early on in our little chat here. But I'm now realizing, listening here, talking to you, asking you some questions, why you are so important in what you do. And you can quote me on this. No, I'm really serious. Why you are so important. Because if I, and we touched on it just a couple of minutes ago, if I would have had this kind of guidance and illumination, it's a nice word, illumination. If I would have had that, I could have saved myself a couple of decades here or there to get a better understanding of myself. If and I was an old school guy. I was an old fashioned, I still am, an old fashioned guy who, 1960, 1970, never stopped to ask somebody for directions. Never did.
yeah
I'll figure it
yeah
out.
yeah. But that's your independence
But
value
yeah,
and self-reliance value, probably teaming up.
but there's a practicality to that. So what I'm saying, just listening to you and realizing just how important what you do really is, because you can save somebody a decade of their life to help them understand.
Yeah,
Wow. And I
yeah.
didn't. So I'm paying the price now. Yeah, I'm writing books and stuff. I'm doing all this stuff. I'm 80 years old. It'd be nice if I was doing this at
But,
70,
but
60,
but
whatever.
Calvin, you would not have the life experience that makes you so rich and wonderful. It's just
I
this
guess.
is how you're made. I would have loved when I was 28, I did a class called Landmark Form. Absolutely the best class ever. And I learned all about how I was getting in my own way. And I kept saying, if I only had that at 18, because I was carrying so much thought weight and so many emotions. The elephant was just all over the place 100% of the time. I was creating emotions that didn't even exist. And it was just like, let me create new emotions and living into those emotions. It was a very long journey. And it was 10 years that I felt I quote unquote lost, but I wouldn't have appreciated what I learned when I learned it if I hadn't gone in the other direction, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So, um, these are our journeys. This is what we're here for.
Okay. Which is the next question is a good segue. Um, it's a good segue. I didn't plan it this way. I'm a big student of Gen Z because I taught them a few years ago, and I took away a lot of observations, and I interact with a lot of Gen Zs to this day. I'm going to be mentoring another Gen Z at Rutgers in the fall. The fall is here, actually. So, have you noticed any generational or cultural differences in how people approach conflict? And the sub thing is, and interacting with my son, who's a millennial now, in trying to reach him, it's just hard to reach him, even with nutrition. That's part of my life. It's a hard rain, as Bob Dylan saying.
Yeah.
It's a hard rain. So are there, I think
Yeah. You're answering your own question.
I am. Yeah.
Yeah. But the differences between me and my parents and you and your parents, I mean, it's the same thing. I, I was coaching someone from the military and young kid, fantastic, just a fantastic human being and very thankful for his service and keeping us all safe. And he found out his internal self at that age.
Wow.
And I said, look at the world that you're going to help create,
Yeah.
knowing who you are, how to de-escalate yourself. Um, it was just wonderful. I think conflict is the same for any generation. But when you can identify the thing that makes you upset, there's power in that. My daughter called a few weeks ago and she was upset at something. And she says, I think my independence value got hit. I was like, that was music to my ears. That was great. but she identified it and then was able to move past it because conflict is self facing forward, and she didn't stew in it.
Okay.
What kind of gift? So I think conflict is the same. We handle it differently
Yeah.
because the generations, all that. But I think the resolution starts from the inside. I think that's how we're made up as human beings.
Right. And it's on an individual basis. It's not necessarily
It's
a
never
generation.
the outside. It's never the outside stuff, Calvin. It's always the inside stuff.
Okay.
Always.
Okay. Uh, Before we talk about which I'm fascinated with, MMA and stuff, I just want to go really off and throw in some stuff I alluded to. So here's the scenario, and you don't necessarily have to answer it, but it's a cute question. There's a couple cute things here, thanks to Barbara, I told you about. So here's the scenario, excluding family or friends, somebody living or dead you'd like to spend a day with.
Oh.
And it could be one,
Um.
two, or three. There's no rules here.
Okay. So no family, no friends. So it has to be someone like
No,
famous-ish.
not really. It could be somebody, hey, like the Invisible Man. No, just somebody that you'd like to spend a day. Could be anybody.
Oh, I think there's so many fascinating people. Henry Kissinger is fantastic. Elton John. I mean, really,
Yeah,
like
great answers.
Billy Joel,
Sure.
Whitney Houston. I mean, what kind of a voice?
No, no,
She's every time she sings the Star Spangled Banner, it's no one has ever passed her level of excellence on that ever. I I go to a Super Bowl party with my girlfriend, and every year I'm like, we can't. There's no one close. There's
no.
no one close. So many people
Yeah,
just
okay.
their life journeys
Yeah,
of how they overcame the thing, whatever their thing was, however they persevered through it. It's just people are fascinating.
yeah.
All of us in different ways are just fascinating how we can overcome challenges, um, figure it out, bounce forward from the setbacks. It's just wonderful to see as a humanity to
Correct.
do that.
I I agree with you. I marvel at people's journeys. I'm whatever I'm doing, wherever I'm, and I stop. I go to Wikipedia just to kind of get a picture of somebody, their life journey, I mean, I use it a million times a day just because I so appreciate life journeys, uh,
Yeah.
uh, and lifting yourself up, and what's that magic, ingredient. So great answers, provocative stuff. Do you have some favorite movies?
Anything, yes. Well, Terms of Endearment's one of my favorites, but because you can't beat that. Officer and a Gentleman,
Oh
fantastic.
God,
Oh, I know.
once every 2 months I watch that. Zach Mayo, with the little tattoo and the Band-Aid, and I
Mhm.
mean, just a marvelous, marvelous movie, right down to the cinematography and the music. Oh,
Yeah,
love.
yeah. I'm a movie buff, and I love books as well. Anything that has wonderful stories about the journeys, right? And I can go anywhere. I mean, we've watched alien movies, we watched all sorts of things. And there's no genre that I won't watch. Probably horror films. If I had the Freddy Krueger thing, I think freaked me out when I was 16, and I'm not a horror film person. But aside from that,
Me
it's
neither.
open season.
Okay. You know what and when I find something I like, so last week I have a whole collection of old movies here, and it's funny, some of the movies that I like, Bruce Springsteen likes. That's a long story, and I have written proof on that. But anyway, I have a movie there, and I was just because I sit in this chair 12 hours a day, I wanted to find something. So I found the Americanization of Emily, and most people don't know about it. Uh,
Yeah.
James Garner and
Okay.
Julie Andrews. I'm looking to see if I have.
As I say, I'll write that down and I'll.
You may. Look. I have the. it's in my thing right now. I'm looking to see where it is. I can't find it. But anyway, it's called The Americanization of Emily. James Garner and Julie Andrews, and it takes place in London a couple of weeks before D-Day, and it's such an improbable. It's a love story, and Julie Andrews is a British girl. She drives, she drives American generals and admirals around. That's her job, and she meets James Garner. That it is absolutely a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful movie. It's buried in all of that. It's anti-war all over the place.
Mm. It,
And I just called my wife in a couple hours ago, and I showed her 5 scenes. I said, "You gotta look at the face, look, boom, 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 and look at the expression on Julie Andrews' face." Anyway, and it's funny, I did the Wikipedia thing, and both James Gardner and Julie Andrews said that that's their favorite movie. Both
mm.
who have made
Well, it's on. It's. I just wrote it down. Speaking of taking notes, I wrote it down. There's a movie I saw, and the title was in French, so I think it's Noel. It was Christmas,
Okay.
and it was about how the two sides were fighting in the war, and they stopped and had Christmas dinner together. Noel.
I
Yeah.
remember that.
Yeah.
I absolutely remember that.
Yeah. Fantastic. I mean, how great.
Yeah,
How great.
great. Was that a true story or?
I believe it was
Wow,
a true story. But
wow,
anyway.
I like that. Okay, back to work. So you hold. I jump right into it. And no segues, just boom. You
Yeah.
hold a second degree black belt in MMA and another one. You can tell us what that is. What lessons from martial arts most influence your work in conflict resolution?
Well, I guess there were obviously lessons for me. I'm not going to punch people in conflict, although it is an option if everything goes bad. But um, I started Gojo Ryu, an Okinawan Gojo Ryu style. It was like the Karate Kid, and I did that for 6 years. I was working around the clock at a medical meeting planning company, and I said I have to take a break. So let me go try this karate thing. And there's a karate place around the corner. It began with a B. The phone book came out. The first one had a B in it. I'm like, I'm in. So fell in love with it. Was going 4 times a week. Um, it taught me a lot about being patient with myself, a lot about having fun with it, a lot about self-protection so I can have that internal strength. It walked right into my independence and self-reliance values because I was able to do things that I didn't know how to do. Um, I had to stop because I gave birth. I
Minor,
health a minor thing. I
minor
had
thing.
my OB was up here, the belly was out there. It was and I stopped the week before I gave birth to my daughter. So, and then I didn't go back because I got pregnant with my son fairly quickly, and then we ended up moving. So I was a advanced brown belt, 2 black tabs in Gojo Ryu. Biggest regret is probably not finishing it, but I couldn't. We moved an hour away, so that was that. Um, Started MMA when the kids were like 11 or so, but I had to start from white belt. So that was a big lesson. I stand in the back of the line and just start from scratch, learn a whole new style, a whole new way. And what I learned was to become adaptable, to just go with it, not fight like, oh, but I had 6 years. I did my thing. I sat in the back and I just accepted that this is what it is. I can't change it. I'm just going to go with it. And I think karate has taught me that acceptance of yourself, of your abilities, of the things that you're challenged by is the best way to resolve anything. So instead of grappling with all the issues, literally or figuratively, you accept and you figure out a way around it.
Okay. There's an enormous amount. I can't even process it. There's an enormous amount of physical discipline involved in what you're huge amounts. Has that ever helped you, physical discipline, resolve like an emotional or verbal conflict in unusual or different ways? The discipline.
Yeah, well, it's really a matter of pausing and taking that breath. It's all in the pause.
Okay.
Because without the pause, you're having that reaction quickly. So if you can learn how to just pause, breathe, reground yourself when your head and heart are faced. So when you're punching someone, you want to face and you want to have your head and your heart and your whole body is aligned towards the target. That's what you do to land a really good punch. You're not having your feet flying through the air because you don't have enough torque in the hip. Conflict is the same way. Doing anything is the same way. Head and heart in the same direction, facing the target, grounded in your truth, grounded in yourself, and then that's going to make a more powerful punch. Um, Learning how to pause and assess a situation quickly, it's important. It's important in conflict so you don't overreact when something happens. I had a client once and he was so mad at one of his coworkers and she was doing something around, they worked on a presentation all night long together and she submitted an earlier version after all those hours and he was apoplectic. And it was the time he was able to pause himself and he found out that she submitted the wrong one.
Well,
So instead of him giving the difficult conversation of what's what and why did she do the blah blah blah, um, she made a mistake and she says, I submitted the wrong one. Can you believe that? And then he was like, oh, all right, well, let's figure it out and how to. So
mhm.
that pausing is important.
Okay. Okay. Um, Jumping into some book insights. So it's the thought that counts. You write about the power, my research, the power of perception and mindset. And is there can you come up with like an example of where just a simple shift in thought completely changed the outcome of somebody's conflict?
Yeah. I mean, if you're, we had one the other day. Okay, so I had a client and he had one of his values was integrity. And he was telling me a story about he went to visit his parents with his wife and kids. And he was very upset about something that happened. And he was going to have the what's what with his parents to say, why would you do A, B, and C, whatever that was? And we talked about it. And I said, what if you led with this is how the integrity of how your parents are? What would that shift if they were living their truth in whatever they did and you live your truth? And he's like, I never thought about it that way. That, yeah, they've always been the way they are. Why am I upset about this? Is it that big of a thing that I have to make a project out of the conversation? So just that shift to say, are they acting with integrity in who they're being? And he's like, oh, yeah. And that was his value. And I said, well,
Mhm.
you know,
That's a
there you
tough
are.
thing to live with, integrity. You got to be really, you got to be, you have to have a lot of inner constitution to, integrity. I like to think I have some integrity, it's a tough thing. So, an interesting perspective. Uh, Next, um, if someone came to you, you had to implement one principle from it's a thought that counts. Um, uh, what would it be if you had to pick one? Can you pick one?
Yeah, self-acceptance.
Okay, writing that down.
Yeah, acceptance brings happiness. You can't unscramble an egg, right? This is how it's how it is. So when you accept who you are and who you're not fighting your natural self. And
Okay.
when you know who you are and who you're not, it's even more beauty.
Um, Changing the direction just a little bit. So you're running part-time, family-owned business, an animal hospital, which has to obviously brings its own unique set of conflicts. Duh. between staff and pet owners and patients and families and stuff. Uh, is there a particular strategy that comes in handy when you're in that environment?
We have a fantastic staff. My husband's so easygoing and he's so good at what he does. He can spot issues from like a mile away. Um, and he's easy to get along with, and the staff is wonderful. So we're very lucky that we've had great people and we care about the animals. So it's not been a rough ride there because our hearts are in the right place. Hopefully people see that. Our staff feels the same way about the animals. Half of us take extra animals home. We just got a fifth cat because it's I know. She's so
Well,
cute though. She's
fifth
really
cat, lucky you. Oof.
oh my gosh. But listen, they
Yeah,
need a home.
of course they do. Of course they do. I'm a dog guy, myself. I just read the other day, there was an article that came out because they opened up the New Jersey's first veterinary school.
Yep. Very exciting.
Very, very
Very
exciting.
exciting.
'Cause,
Yes.
I'm on this health committee with Dr. Bachman from the medical school, and we talk about that. And I've interviewed some veterinarians, and tremendous shortage of veterinarians in America. Tremendous.
Yeah. Well, we only have, I think my husband said 26 or 27 schools. Not a
Wow,
lot.
that's
Yeah,
not a
this is
lot. And can you imagine New Jersey? New Jersey is number two in education in America. And I'm not making that up. It's like number two. It usually bounces back between one and two. And not to have had a veterinary school all this time, it just and we're a garden state. We've got agriculture and animals, and not to have had. And I like the fact that I guess they accepted half the students in the first class, are Jersey people. So that's kind of nice.
yeah.
Um,
All in due time. It's here now and
yeah,
it'll be wonderful.
right.
It really will be wonderful.
Do you find working with animals changes the way you might resolve like a human conflict? Is there some kind of a energy that you can take from working with animals?
Oh, absolutely. Years ago I did this equine coaching thing. And at first I was like, really? Like, what's all this about? And you go out with the horses and you commune with them and you talk to them. And this woman is doing this whole thing with the horses. And I'm looking in these big eyes and I'm like, the tears are rolling down and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm talking to a horse about my stuff. Um, and you really do have a different sense. I mean, animals, I think, just bring out the best in us. Um, they need love. They're comforting. So
Okay.
there's all sorts, and there's coaching with horses. So
I I'm a big animal guy. Hey, I think I told you in 1975, out of respect for animals, I stopped eating everything with four legs.
yeah,
And I've stuck to it for 50 years and then some. So the side effect of that is I'm pretty healthy,
knock
you
wood.
know, pretty healthy, and no coronary artery plaque. So there was a reward in sticking to your guns, which I did. It wasn't easy, I liked corned beef, and actually I turned 75. My son went to Katz's and got a corned beef sandwich for me and brought it here to celebrate my 75th birthday a few years ago. And I took one bite out of it, and I hadn't eaten anything, nothing, no red meat in 50 years. And I took one bite out of it and I spit it out. I just didn't like it, and I
Yeah,
used to love it. So be it. Let's see. Kind of winding down. Listen, I wrote a million things down. Why don't we actually, you know what? There's so much stuff here, and I don't want to overwhelm. Uh, um, let's just kind of wrap, I think. Um, uh, where most importantly, where can people find a book and connect with your coaching work? And I'll have links when I prepare this.
Yep. Amazon has it. You can go on any online store. You can get it from your local library. Sometimes you have to order it, so there's that. Eventually, the ebook will
Yes.
be out as soon as it gets done. Again, the chicken is maybe not ready to get off that grill. And mywhothoughts.com is a way to find me.
Okay. I'll have all this for folks to. Yeah, listen. I have a whole bunch more things, but
You can, I mean, if you want to, it's up
well,
to you.
there's a couple more. Sure. I like. Actually, I'll end with this because it's kind of a nice question I scribbled. It's a good way to. Actually, it's a perfect way to end. What gives you hope about how people are learning to handle conflict in today's world? Is it better? Are we better at handling conflict? Although we got a world that's in conflict. But what gives you hope?
Human-ness. People who believe making the world a better place is the motto. And whatever discipline that they do. I mean, look at you, look at your life, how you mentor people, the books you write, the things that you do, the podcast, all the stuff. You make a difference in ways that you have no idea. You're making the world a better place in your neck of the woods. And everyone's doing that, I think, for the most part. It's just sometimes when you don't know why you're upset, it just that's the elephant takes over.
Yeah,
And that's when it doesn't, always come out so fantastic. But I think almost everyone wants to do good in the world. Whether they allow themselves is another story,
yeah,
right? Whether they
sure.
can, take their seed of thought and do a little something.
Okay.
So we do a little something. We do what we could do.
Yeah, we do what we can do exactly. Um, there's a saying, and I forget where it came from. It's one of my favorite sayings. I don't have too many. It might have come from the Quran, or it might have come from the Bible, but he or she who saves a life saves the world.
Yep.
And and that's I live by that because if I can do what I do and help one person, then I've saved the world. That's a
That's
great
it.
that's a great saying. So that's a perfect
And
way.
I have one too. It's
Okay.
sitting right here. So when you're willing to feel everything, then you can move forward on anything.
Wow. Nice. And really nice. That's a perfect way to end our first session, which is a segue that do come back. Please do
Yes.
come back, and we can talk about more stuff. We haven't even scratched the surface of conflict, resolution and stuff. There's so much more to talk about, and at the appropriate time, I'll get that ebook and I'm on some program with Amazon and it's all free. It's not free, but it's free, whatever that
Yeah.
means. So, but at the appropriate time, because it just what you do just fascinates me because I keep looking at myself. If I only would have had some guidance back then, and it spilled off into so much of my lifestyle. My gaining hundreds of pounds twice
And losing it.
and losing it.
And that resilience muscle. I
Yeah,
mean, I was writing down some of the values as you were talking, because people wear their values on their skin. Eh, You've led a very fascinating life. I mean, independence, self-reliance. I think integrity is in there.
yeah. A lot of
There's
integrity, a lot of integrity.
resilience, and you wouldn't have gotten your values had you not gone through the thing that
I had,
allowed you to get your values.
yeah, but some of my life's journey was a little hard and difficult. There's a divorce thrown in there,
Yeah,
which didn't have to be, but it was a divorce because I didn't know who I was.
yeah,
I was a baby. Babies shouldn't marry. because the night the night the night before with my first wife, we used to fight about everything before we got married. Listen, you're a conflict resident. We fought about everything under the sun. No politics, you know. She was a McGovern girl, and uh, uh, but we fought about every, you know, we had to eat this, that, and the night before we got married, we had a big wedding up in North Jersey, big wedding. And the night before, it was like midnight, and we were in the kitchen. We had a huge fight over something stupid, you know, like the proper way to address, you know, a thank you card for one of her cousins, and a huge fight. And she ran into my mother's kitchen and slammed the door, and she came out crying. We're getting married, you know, the next day. And she just stormed out of the house. And I said, thank God Almighty that my parents and sisters are sleeping upstairs. They didn't hear this stuff. Thank God Almighty. So she leaves, slams the door, and all of a sudden my mother appears. She was in the dining room the whole time, sitting, listening. So the tears were streaming down her face, crying hysterically. She said, Calvin, I'm a mother, and mothers know. I beg you, do not marry this girl tomorrow. It's not meant to be. It's not,
Yeah.
it's not meant to be. Don't marry. And then I gave one of the great speeches of my life that I still talk about. I said, Ma, we're getting married tomorrow. I used to call her Ma. Ma, we're getting married tomorrow. It doesn't really make a difference who I marry tomorrow because I'm going to get divorced, because that's the statistics. So I want to get on with my life. So let me marry her, however long it lasts, good, and then I'll really get on with my life. So that was the realistic, realistic way I entered my first marriage, knowing it's just a matter of time. Let me get the experience to make me a better person.
And did it?
Yeah, I mean, now I'm married 48 years, so I guess it did work.
Yeah.
You know,
So if you look back at the first one, had you not married her, would you have not gotten to the place you are now so you could have met your second one?
well, that would have been, the world would have been different. You know, I always think about a hereafter, and the hereafter to give you a chance to go back and hang out inside yourself just to observe. And then my question is, can I make some changes? And that could influence, you know, that could influence.
But for
It's
what?
like Back to
What
the
would
Future. Oh, I don't
Yeah, but
know.
what would that give you? You would just have another set of problems.
Yeah, I guess. I guess.
There's no perfect. I mean,
No.
you are perfect as you are. Um, but if you could erase it and you could go back and do something totally different, you'd have another set of problems and you'd be like, well, why don't I do this
Yeah.
another way?
So it's, yeah,
Yeah, acceptance.
acceptance.
Listen, I've had experiences, good, bad, and different, and acceptance has given me peace.
I like that.
And I'm sure there'll be more experiences for both of us, and acceptance will, sometimes the chicken is needs to be on the grill a little bit longer.
Great
That's
way to end.
that's just
Thank
it.
you, thank you, thank you, thank you, Dana. Um, this has been great. Uh, um, I'm inviting you to come back, absolutely, in any shape, way, or form, to do whatever, to panel, anything. We'll talk about it.
Happy to participate, but
Yeah.
if we don't stop now, we will probably be talking till midnight,
Yes, so I'm going to stop
which
recording.
is absolutely fine.
Don't leave. Thank you so much. This, by the way, this was great. Actually, it was sumptuous. That's a word I got from Norma Ray. Ron Liebman says to Sally Field and Norma Ray, what we've had was sumptuous, you know. So this was sumptuous. A great way to end. Thank you.